Welcome to Strangeville. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kevin Strange, 20-year veteran of the underground, cartoonist, novelist, and underground filmmaker. And I am here today to share my love of comic books with you. Today, we're talking about Robert Kirkman's seminal zombie comic book masterpiece, the comic book that relaunched enthusiasm in Image Comics, the comic book that made him Image Partner, the first new Image Partner since the founding days of Image Comics in the 1990s. We're going to take a look at Robert Kirkman's The Walking Dead. But first, it is October. It is Monster Month, and I've got a brand new comic book out. My brand new 28-page full-color splatterpunk underground outlaw comic, Kevin Strange's Count Kefula, a.k.a. Dracula in Strangeville, is available in beautiful digital PDF form. Link in the description to the Patreon where you can read Count Kefula right now in bold Technicolor. I'm also doing a pre-order all month for the physical comic book that comes with this 11 by 17 poster that you see on your screen right now. That's $12, gets you the 28-page full-color comic and the 11 by 17 poster. Link in the description. I'm taking pre-orders all October long, and then cutting it off on October 31st, Halloween, and then we will send that off to the printer, so you will get your books sometime in November. We are also marching toward that coveted 1,000 subscribers. We're almost there, less than 200 away, or like 180 something subscribers away. So your subscription does matter. If you are not subscribed, and about 40% of the viewers of these videos are not subscribed when they watch them, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Costs you nothing, gets us closer to our goal of 1,000 subscribers. And as a reward to our loyal subscribers, when we hit that 1,000 subscriber goal, I'm putting my 164-page tome, graphic novel tome, Kevin Strange's Space Worms, up for free as a PDF. This is a raucous, sex and violence-filled splatter gore comedy, and it can be yours for free at the Patreon when we hit that coveted 1,000 subscribers. Why become a patron over there? Well, you get all of my comic books, including Kevin Strange's Space Worms, including Too Many Dabs issues 1 and 2, including Death to Strangeville and The Wizard of Ganj, and all my novels and all of my feature films that my friend Johnny here, who's joining me, was the editor on, right? Hello, Johnny.
Hello.
Johnny's down from Chicago. He brought his Walking Deads with him. And this was kind of we've done a bunch of videos since he's been down, and this is kind of the cornerstone episode I wanted to do. Was an episode on The Walking Dead, or maybe several episodes. I haven't really decided if I want to blow the whole load and do one long video, or if I want to do a series of short videos. I guess we'll find out as we go along. Let's go ahead and get right into it. My friend Johnny introduced me to the Walking Dead comic book. He thinks maybe I introduced him, but I didn't have any of the. I don't have issue 1, so like as a floppy. So maybe I told him. Maybe I read about it on the internet. That was back in the. Ain't It Cool News days, right? That was where it was Ain't It Cool News, run by Harry Knowles, was the source. I would say what year did this come out?
2005.
So I didn't even start my YouTube account until 2006, and I started a YouTube account pretty much when YouTube started. So I would say maybe YouTube was around in like 2003 or 4, but very small site. You could barely upload anything to it. I think 10 minutes was the max video upload you could do at the time. So
MySpace was the thing.
MySpace was big, and you kind of got so you didn't get your news from YouTube like you do now. Your comic, movie, and video game news like you do now on YouTube. Back in those days, you got your news from Ain't It Cool News. So I suppose there's a chance that I read that this Robert Kirkman dude was doing this like long form zombie comic book. Maybe it was kind of getting buzz going, and maybe I told Johnny about it without buying it. But I think I remember it, and I don't have the legendary memory that Johnny has. But I remember that he just handed me this first trade paperback and said, "Hey, you want to borrow this? This is a really cool comic book I found. It's a zombie book, but it's not about zombies. It's about like the crazy shit that the people go through throughout it." And I was like, I don't know. That kind of sounds gay. I think zombies are cool. I don't think people are cool. So let's, I'll check it out. And this motherfucker hooks you right away. Like there's no question. If you get this first trade paperback, which collects the first 6 issues of The Walking Dead, before you even get through 6 issues, there's so much that's happened to these people that you're hooked, or I was hooked anyway. And it's difficult. I would say it's difficult to be a comics reader and not be enthusiastic about this series in this first volume. This is a powerhouse volume packed with all kinds of moments. And that first, when you first get into it, it's right away, we're following our main. Well, let me read the introduction to you so that because this is what, and I think this is completely kayfabed, because as time has gone by, it's kind of been revealed that Robert Kirkman lied to Image, said he was making an alien book, but it started with zombies, and then he was going to like turn the corner and pull the rug out, and it was going to be an alien invasion book, and that was a complete lie. He had no intention of ever making it an alien invasion book, and I don't think that's mentioned in this introduction at all. He gives you this introduction like he had this all planned out all along to be a story told this way, and Kirkman's kind of been known to be a ruthless, evil bullshit artist to make himself famous and get himself in the position of power that he is today. But let's give you his kayfabe version of what Walking Dead is all about. I'm not trying to scare anybody. If that somehow happens as a result of reading this comic, that's great. But really, that's not what this book is about. What you now hold in your hands is the most serious piece of work I've done so far in my career. I'm the guy that created Battle Pope. I hope you guys realize what a stretch this is for me. It's really not that hard to believe when you realize that I'm delving into subject matter that is so utterly serious and dramatic. Zombies. To me, the best zombie movies aren't the splatterfests of gore and violence with goofy characters and tongue-in-cheek antics. Good zombie movies show us how messed up we are. They make us question our station in society and our society's station in the world. They show us gore and violence and all that cool stuff too, but there's always an undercurrent of social commentary and thoughtfulness. Give me Dawn of the Dead over Return of the Living Dead any day. What a fucking asshole. Return of the Living Dead is the best zombie movie of all time. That's my commentary. Excuse me. Let me get back in. To me, zombie movies are thought-provoking dramatic fiction on par with any Oscar garbage that's rolled out year after year. What zombie movie is he's just, like I said, this is Robert Kirkman bullshitting you. But anyway, movies that make you question the fabric of our very society are what I like. And in good zombie movies, you get that by the truckload. So far, he's given one example. That's Dawn of the Dead, which is good. This is Romero's second movie in his Dead trilogy, and it's I guess I like it. I think I like them in order. I think I like Night of the Living Dead, then Dawn of the Dead, then Day of the Dead. I think that's.
I'm more of a Day of the Dead, but that's because Return of the Living Dead is also my favorite, and Day of the Dead is just another gory masterpiece. In that sense.
There's that soldier in the basement when the zombies grab him and rip his head off. That's what's his name? It's Savini, right? Savini on the effects. Did he do both? Did he do?
I'm pretty sure
he didn't do all three.
No.
But he did Dawn of the Dead, and then did he return?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Day of the Dead. So there's this sequence where these zombies rip into his guts, and he's screaming, and then they rip his head off, and his vocal cords, as they expand, his voice gets higher. So he's like, ah! As his head gets ripped off, and that for some people, and I don't necessarily think that's like super cool because realistic gore is gross. So I don't mind like a guy getting his head ripped off and then talking, even though his vocal cords are obviously gone. I don't mind cheesy. Actually, I guess I prefer the more cheesy and cartoony, the better. But I understand why people think that's super cool. Anyway, let's go on with Kirkman, who's given one example of a good zombie movie, but somehow has sent up the entire genre into this Oscar-worthy station. With The Walking Dead, I want to explore how people deal with extreme situations and how these events change them. I'm in this for the long haul. You guys are going to get to see Rick change and mature to the point that when you look back on this book, you won't even recognize him. I hope you guys are looking forward to a sprawling epic, because that's the idea with this one. Everything in this book is an attempt at showing the natural progression of events that I think would occur in these situations. This is a very character-driven endeavor. How these characters get there is much more important than them getting there. I hope to show you reflections of your friends, your neighbors, your families, and yourself, and what their reactions are to the extreme situations on this book. No mention of aliens anywhere there. So, like I said, that's the kind of kayfabed, already popular, because this is the trade paperback that's 6 months. Well, I don't even know if this came out immediately 6 months after the book came out. The first trade paperback maybe might have taken a while for the book to take off enough to even warrant a trade paperback. But that's definitely Kirkman in hindsight. Kayfabe in your ass. Blowing all kinds of smoke up your ass. Not to say that this isn't an excellent book. It is, but I just don't think that he had as lofty goals as I think he was just making a fucking funny book.
But yeah, Rick, it was interesting because you were talking about how we first found out about this book. That what I remember is that I got Scott Pilgrim first for in a 50-cent bin, and then went back to that comic book and said, I would like to pre-order the next Scott Pilgrim for the full price. And when I came to pick that up, the guy was like, "Oh, you like Scott Pilgrim? Well, then you're gonna like this." And it doesn't really match. They're not even near the same. But I'm glad that he did, because, obviously it's a phenomenal book. But that's how I remember finding out about it. It was just some random guy at a comic shop recommending it to me because I liked Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, your best local comic shop worker will always say, "Oh, you like that book? Well, you'd love this that I happen to have. What a coincidence! I have 75 copies of this book over here. You should definitely check this out." And it's sometimes like I because I would go in and pick up trade paperbacks of The Walking Dead from this one local comic shop. The guy recommended Crossed to me, which is like a more extreme violence. It's like everything that Kirkman just said zombie stuff shouldn't be. Crossed is. It's nothing but mindless, crazy, extreme gore. And I was like, you know what, man? Just give me The Walking Dead. Well, okay, let me look at it. And I looked at it and I was like, shit, yeah, okay. So I ended up, I've got a bunch of volumes of Crossed because of picking up Walking Dead and having a local comic shop guy hawk that at me. But we get right away, we get one page of Rick getting shot, backstory. Then he wakes up out of a coma and he's in the middle of the zombie apocalypse and doesn't know it, doesn't have any idea what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, he gets right to it.
This is our first, we're like 6 pages in and we already have a full splash page of zombies. And they switched artists, right? This original art guy was Tony Moore. And Kirkman wrote and lettered. And you can already see like he's already given himself creator credit and not the Tony Moore guy. Yeah. Doesn't get creator credit even though he's the artist on this. So you can already tell Robert Kirkman's an asshole. Before we even get going, he didn't give co-creator credit to his artist, which is like guys like Brian Pulido who does the Chaos Comics, Coffin Comics, but he used to do Chaos Comics. He's the evil Ernie and Lady Death guy. He gets nothing but shit from comic artists he always just does hired guns. He owns Lady Death. He owns his characters as the writer and creator, and then he hires people to illustrate for him and doesn't give them co-creator credit. And that's like a big deal to a lot of comics people because that's what happened to Jack Kirby. Yeah, and that whole generation of illustrators is they were just hired guns and they didn't get co-creator credit on a lot of stuff. Even if they did, the companies like Marvel and DC owned the properties, owned the characters, and that's the impetus for why Image even exists. I'm looking for the Image logo. It's not there. Is it? Yeah, here we go. That's the reason why the Image company even exists is because that era of the Mark Silvestri, the Jim Valentino, Jim Lee, Eric Larson, and Todd McFarlane left Marvel because they were getting the fucking Tony Moore treatment. They weren't even getting their original pages back that they drew from Marvel. And Todd famously goes, my dad got a watch. He got a gold watch after 50 years at his job. What did I get? I don't even get a fucking T-shirt with my art on it. And then they bring in this guy as a co-partner in the Image line, and he doesn't seem to have the same values that they did. He just had a popular comic book. The Walking Dead was the most popular comic book Image had seen in like 20 years, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And anyway, we're right in it with Tony Moore's art. And when does that change? Is Volume 2? Was he already fired? I don't remember the. That's Volume 3. Does he get credit in Volume 2? That looks like a different art already.
Yeah. So yeah, Volume 2 of the trade paperbacks. It's already.
So Tony only lasted 6 issues, and I know the story. I've heard the story several times as to why Tony got kicked off. It might have been that that Image didn't like this art style or something like that. I remember whatever it was. Kirkman was an asshole about it. It's all I remember. You guys tell me in the comments, gang. You diggers tell me what happened between Tony Moore and Kirkman that got him kicked off after the first 6 issues. But one of the seminal moments of the very beginning of Walking Dead is that that's the bicycle zombie. I love that in the TV show. I love the Greg Nicotero effect that he does with the zombie. This is like one of the best looking zombies in the series. But we go. I'm trying to get to the little girl. Did he go back and kill the bicycle zombie? Is that what he just did?
Yeah, out of
Pity.
Yeah.
Which is foreshadowing for something he does here in a little bit that you want to talk about. But he gets in the car and he blah blah blah. Finds him a horse.
And if
this is the famous shot from the AMC's The Walking Dead. This is the big splash that they use to sell the is the cop with the hat on a horse and the decimated this is Atlanta, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, I really like this art, but I can see how it could be
I think it reads better than the next guy. I think this stuff reads clearer.
I think it has a little bit more goof to it. So, like when you see his faces here,
it's more cartoony.
Yeah,
it's definitely more cartoony. But I think that
I like that, but I can see how that would be. No, this needs to be a more serious tone.
Is that Glenn already? We already introduced to Glenn.
Yeah,
I think it is, right? I thought he ran into the little girl before Glenn.
Yeah, I haven't reread this since the first time I read it.
Well, he's already reconnected to his family. Does that little girl thing just happen in the fucking?
You're talking about? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's just in the show. That farm lasts forever.
So
it's been a while. Maybe it's in the book. I can't even remember.
No, they're already at the farm. They've already met. What the fuck was this? That was the bucket hat dude's name.
Dale.
Dale. That's right. We've already met Dale. And that's Shane, right? That's his best friend Shane.
Yeah.
And so we get into the very quickly in Walking Dead. We get into like the interpersonal stuff. And so his wife and kid have survived. Carl and what the fuck's her name?
Lori.
Yeah, Lori. Lori and Carl, his wife and son, have survived miraculously. Like and his buddy Shane was taking care of him. But very quickly we figure out, like, oh shit, Shane's been fucking my wife. Like he's been, like he was cucked by his best friend while he was in a coma. So right away, and I think this might be the moment he kind of figures it out. That little smirk on his face. He's like, oh, crazy old man. What does he say? I wouldn't trust him around your wife. I'll keep that in mind. Crazy old man.
Yeah.
So Dale's already like giving it up. that Shane's been banging his wife. So I gave you kind of my overview of my thoughts on the beginning of Walking Dead, but give me your thoughts because you're the one that sold this on me. So what did you think of this?
I really, really like the art, you know, and the zombies, you know, because I was a zombie, really into gore and stuff then. And
he, you know, he kind of says at the beginning there that this isn't about the gore and stuff, but it's got great gore. Like this stuff is like
some of the best.
Like look at this hatchet in this zombie's head. It's like they're not. This is about the people, not the zombies. It's as much about the zombies as it is about the people. These zombies look awesome, and the kills are extraordinary.
And while I was reading it, it really felt like I started getting invested, like a soap opera. Like, you know, I got to know what happens next
because it's so much about that, the drama of the people.
And then it's the whole relationship Shane thing. Like I was already drawn in like a gossiping girl. Like, oh my gosh, I wonder if he's gonna find out and what she's gonna do and what he's gonna do. And it really sold me on that it was a cool comic book. I didn't really know how good it was. I was just like, this is a cool comic book, and that's when I'm pretty sure I recommended it to you. But it was when and it doesn't take long for the whole Shane and Rick conflict to start.
Look at this is his Chad best friend, this chisel chin motherfucker here, and he's still not, he's still kind of
very naive, like, oh, the world's gonna go back to normal,
and we're gonna take care of this. Everything,
justice is important and law is important,
and Dale's just not. He's not having it. What is this exchange even? Oh, hey, I didn't see you there, man. You almost scared me to death. So you're Lori's husband, huh? Yeah. I don't want to stir nothing up. And you got to understand, this has nothing to do with your wife. She did nothing but talk about you while you were gone. She worried about you. She felt bad about leaving you. But that Shane, he's a good man. He helps out a lot around here. He took care of your wife, but he's not glad you're back. He's had his eye on Lori for as long as I've known him. Look, I appreciate the advice, but Shane's my friend. He was just keeping her safe. I don't have anything to worry about. I wouldn't trust him around my wife. I'll keep that in mind. That's that exchange where he goes, crazy old man, smirks as he looks on at Shane, very close to Lori there. Very, very close to her. And so, we right away we get our first like major conflict with our survivors. Yeah. And it's a goodie. It's a goodie.
And like all the characters are, have very distinct personalities, and you start to, we got
these little kids. This is Carl, right?
Yeah.
So we got a little girl that what is her name? They yell it all through season 2 of the show.
I can't even remember.
You think my daddy will come back too? Ain't your daddy dead? Yeah, but so was your daddy, and he came back. My daddy was just sick. We had to leave him in the hospital back home so he could get better. He wasn't dead. Oh, I miss my daddy. Great zombie here eating this deer. One thing leads to another. And so what we used to do is we used to swap these back and forth for the first few. Like, you let me borrow the first volume and I read it and gave it back to you. And you bought the second volume and let me borrow it. I read it and gave it back to you. And then the third one. And after the third one, I was so hooked that I was like, I'm buying them from now on. And then I have my own collection. And I stopped before the end of the series. but I do have a considerable amount of volumes. I have at least 20 volumes of my own before I gave up. And that's one thing that Kirkman didn't bullshit in the introduction, was that he was on board for long-term storytelling and these major arcs, and that each issue of the book picked up immediately where the last issue left off, and that this was going to continue for years and years and years. And I remember maybe not even getting three or four volumes in, I was going like, well, if this is going to go on for years and years, what comic books have had like an ongoing storyline that has like gone on and on uninterrupted by the same, writer or same, creative team. Like how long is the longest? And I looked that up back in the early 2000s, and it was clearly uncontested. It was Dave Sims' Cerebus had gone 300 issues, and then he ended it and had Cerebus die at the end of the 300th issue. At no point at that time did anyone say, well, Spawn's coming up on 300 issues, because Todd McFarlane didn't work on every single issue of Spawn consecutively. And unless I'm wrong, and you can correct me in the comments, diggers, if you need to, but I don't think every issue of Spawn is consecutive. For instance, the video we did on Spawn 10, written by Dave Sim, I don't think that belongs in the continuity, even with the first 10 issues. I think that the 9th issue, the 11th issue picks up at where the 9th issue left off. Well, there's actually, he brought in like Frank Miller, he brought in Alan Moore. There's all kinds of writers in the latter half of the first 10, and I'm not sure that any of those books have total continuity with each other already in the first 10 issues of Spawn, let alone getting up into the mid hundreds where he wasn't working on them at all, where he was credited as creator, not as the writer or the penciler or the inker. But then as he approached Spawn 300, Todd, and this is rehashing shit that's in the Spawn 10 episode, so forgive me for repeating myself. But then Todd started talking about how he was marching towards 300, and I remember just this morning when we were prepping for the show, I said to Johnny, like, maybe Robert Kirkman backed off because Kirkman abruptly ended this at issue 190 something. So Kirkman, for this to be like this long-term storytelling, he didn't even go 300 issues on this. He stopped before 200, and I wonder if that has to do with not wanting to step on Todd's toes. I'm wanting to let Todd keep that bullshit title of because he's Todd. But Todd's is basically his boss at Image. So are you really going to try to run over Eric Larson is. Eric Larson doesn't give a fuck. But I think Eric Larson is Todd's boss. So Eric Larson's Savage Dragon is in the 200s, and he has. I was telling Johnny this last night. I have issue 13 of Savage Dragon, where there was this moment in Image where they all swapped books around, and they all wrote and illustrated each other's books. And Jim Lee ended up getting issue 13 of Savage Dragon. But it got up Eric's ass so bad, he did his own issue 13 to replace the Jim Lee 13 so that the continuity would continue, because Eric wants that title. He wants to write and draw fully, pencil, ink, and write 300 plus issues of Savage Dragon. And he's almost there. He's in the 250s or something at this point. He's very close to actually attaining that. Unless he dies or gets sick, he's going to get the 300 title and legitimately get the 300 title. And he's the CEO of Image right now. So technically, I guess he's Todd's boss. So he doesn't give a fuck. But Kirkman, I guess, maybe didn't want to get into that pissing war. So he ended this abruptly. Nobody knew that Walking Dead was going to end at 196 or whatever that he ended it. But he said that was part of the never knowing when it was going to stop. Well, you kind of told us it was never going to stop, but okay. Never knowing when it was going to stop was part of the allure of Walking Dead, whatever bullshit, man. Anyway, let's get into some moments here. There's a moment like before, you didn't hand me this book after you read the first 20 pages of it. You handed it to me after you read the first volume. So what happens in the first volume that had you hooked and made you want to hand this off to me or to anybody, like, oh, somebody's got to experience this. This is crazy.
So in the first volume, like I said, I was more into the, I thought it was cool. I liked the art. and then it ends in the
I'll do it if you want me to.
ends in the where Shane finally confronts, or Rick finally confronts Shane about what's going on.
Is that this first
and
one?
yeah, and then
Here, let's get into it. Shane, stop! What do you want? I love his fucking this top. What is it, Tony Moore? Yeah, I love this Tony Moore art. Shane is he just looks crazy. I love this panel right here, especially where he flips around with the fucking gun. He just looks deranged there. What do you want? You come to rip my heart right out of my chest? Shane, Jesus, what are you talking about? Be careful with that. Go ahead and rip it out, Rick. I don't fucking need it anymore. Take it. Shane, please, can you just put the gun down? You really did it for me, buddy. You really did it. Oh, yes, you did. I'm nothing now, Rick. Nothing. What did he do that made him so mad?
I think he either called him out, because I know...
Yeah, confronted him right here, I guess.
Because Shane actually...
So he punches him.
Yep.
It wasn't my motherfucking fault, you son of a bitch. And he punches Shane, or I guess that's a punch. Claws at him with his hand. Stay away from him, you fucking lunatic.
And that's it. Like his whatever reputation he had in the group and with Lori and everything, it's done.
Yeah, gone. You can see it all right here, where the whole group is, even the kids are looking at him like he's a monster.
And I think it's all about the fact that he was left behind. He won't let it. Shane feels guilty about it.
I think that's what he's gonna confess up here. Shane, can you please just put the gun down? And you really did it for me, buddy. I've got nothing, Rick. No friends, no family, no respect, no fucking life. This fucking world, this fucking godforsaken world of shit. There's nothing here for me, Rick. Nothing. I thought I could make it. I thought I could hold out, wait until they came and rescued us. They would have brought us nice beds and hot showers and fresh clothes. They were coming back, Rick. We were going to be okay. We still are, Shane. Everything's going to be fine. I can't live like this, Rick. I thought I could, but I can't. I thought I could. I did everything. I thought everything was... I did. Everything was good. So good. She would have come around eventually. I know it. She would have... What? This is when all that Dale shit from earlier finally sets in Rick's face. You see we're still going to be fine. Like, he's puzzled. Like, what is he... Like, what's he so fucking mad about? And then, what? Everything was so perfect. Until you came back. God damn it, Shane, stop this. No, Rick, this is the only way. This is what has happened. This is what has to happen. You weren't meant to come back. You weren't meant to live. Please, Shane, don't do this. Blam! Don't hurt my daddy again. That's a good gun. I like that. I like the gun. We were talking last night about how if you can draw guns and cars, this is what Ed Piskor, the late great Ed Piskor, used to say, is if you could draw guns and cars, you flexed and you drew guns and cars. And this guy has a pretty good gun. I love that look on Carl's face. I'm team Tony Moore, man. This is because we're going to get into some later volumes, and the art, for me, just doesn't have the same impact as this guy's cartoony style does. Carl. Carl, gargle, and then Shane's dead. Oh, son, it's not the same. No, it's not the same as killing the dead ones, Daddy. That's Carl talking, and that's where volume 1 ends. It never should be, son. It never should be. And Shane's dead down here, and so that's just the setup, right? That's
yeah,
just
and
the
I just thought that was like
later.
It's the beginning of like, oh, anybody could die in this, in this comic book. Although they had pretty much set him up to be kind of like a mini villain. It still was a shocking reading it, and I thought it was a great ending to everything that happened, especially since in the beginning you see them both together.
I want to highlight something about this stuff too before we get any further. This is Robert Kirkman on the lettering, and he's does a great job. And I don't know if he continues being the letterer in later volumes, but this team, he put himself, as much of a narcissistic asshole as Kirkman is, he had something with this team. the art and the lettering and his writing and the idea of this being long-term storytelling and setting up these arcs that'll last. Sometimes they don't pay off, as we're about to find out, for years, or over a year or around a year. He had something going for him, and I really, I'm gonna have to look back into it. I know things go in my fucking head and out my head. I'm 45 years old, so I've learned too much, and there's too much in my brain. So when I try to learn new things now, I have to read them or listen to them or watch them like 10 times before they'll actually stick in my head. And I know I've heard the story of Kirkman and Moore splitting up a million times. I just can't remember what it is. But let's go ahead and get into how that arc pays off. And this is because I don't know if you handed off volume 1 after you read volume 1. I think you had the first 3 volumes. In fact, I think you gave me the first 3 volumes to read.
It could be.
And so I think you had already experienced this crazy arc, and like you were like, no, you gotta see what this is. And so let's talk about that. What happens next?
So then, this is volume 2 is where we first see the new guy. What is his name?
So now we've got Charlie Adlard, and Kirkman's still lettering.
And I remember the first time I saw this art.
Tony Moore is relegated to cover on this. Interesting. Is he cover on? Does he just become the cover guy?
Must be, yeah.
After that, what about in later volumes? Did they keep him around as cover
probably just
guy?
for the zombies? Well, maybe not.
No, he's gone by. I guess maybe they had a little bit more of a contract with him to do a couple covers, and then he was gone completely.
I right away was not a fan of the art, and I was just like, oh my gosh, what happened? Why does it look like this now? But over time, the writing was so good I didn't even care, and then I realized I actually liked the art because it was muddy and it's kind of sometimes hard to tell who was who. But I felt like that kind of
was using much more spotted blacks than the gray tones that Tony used. A lot more just whites as backgrounds.
It just better sold the world to me.
This is what Rick. This is what Rick looks like now. I'm not necessarily a fan. This is Rick's look with the new artist, and I really liked the expressiveness of the characters. Maybe it was because I'm really racking my brain trying to think of what happened between the two of them, and I think it might have been that Tony couldn't keep up.
Probably, and this obviously, I mean, not to put down this guy's art, but this could clearly be done faster. And over time, I just didn't care. All I cared about was the story and the writing, which is rare for me in comics because I was mostly an art guy. But here, you're just going to get nothing but words on the pages.
Just a ton of dialogue here. So yeah, that's volume 2, but that's not where the payoff from.
No, for me is when I got to volume 3, and at this point they're already in the prison, and something happens to where they realize, I think it's Tyrese, somebody to do with Tyrese.
We have it marked, right?
Yeah, does a murder suicide.
It's 2 of the teenagers?
I think so.
It's like is it a boy and a girl? And they
I think it's back one more page. But this she's already dead and comes back, and Tyrese is not ready to let go, and they have to kill her again, and this was the realization that you don't have to be bit. You just have to.
So this is the dialogue right here. Rick, what happened? What's going on? Oh, Lori, it's horrible. Chris and Julie, they killed each other. Some sort of suicide pact. They were crazy. Thought they could be together forever if they did this. Tyrese was already there when I got there. He found their bodies. We were there when they came back. They weren't bitten, but they did. Tyrese is dealing with it. I just thought it best to just leave him alone. Oh God, they're dead? Yeah, they're both dead. They need to sleep. We all do. They turn out all the lights at the prison. Everybody's laying there, and then Rick realizes
And reading it as I'm reading it, I don't know. I figured he's just fucked up with the fact that those two just killed themselves.
Right. But what we didn't look at in volume 2 was him burying Shane.
Yeah.
We saw him holding Carl at the end, and Shane.
Yeah, they showed the cross. We saw the cross. We were looking through it. Because they had already buried him. They didn't actually show you burying him, but there was the.
And then Rick is telling him, like, I gotta go do something. And they're like, what are you talking about? And he's like, I'll be back. I got stuff and things. I got to do stuff and things.
And I'm not
this is the beginning of Maggie and Glenn, right?
Yeah.
This is Maggie and Glenn banging in I guess, is that a barbershop?
At that point, they're probably just looking for places. But yeah, I wasn't even thinking of things that happened in volume 1 or anything like that. Like, I was still just reading, invested in what was going on. And then when I realized where Rick was and was at Shane's grave and then was digging, and then Shane comes back.
He says, come on, Shane, you can do it. I didn't leave that much dirt on top of you. Stand up. And there's Shane. Zombie Shane. There you are. So I guess it's not an isolated thing coming back without being bitten. Look at his face. He's so mad at him still, even though he's dead. I thought it might be. Julie turned pretty quickly, but it took us hours to get you into the ground. So many damn questions. When I realized you might be at the bottom of that hole, alive or whatever, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I couldn't sleep knowing you were down there. Would you have left me? You were a good man, Shane. I don't know why you did what you did, but you were a good man. Things turned out differently. If you had killed me, I wonder if you would have just assumed being buried alive wouldn't affect me. Could you have lived with yourself? Is that supposed to be affect with an A or effect? Which spelling of that is correct? I think it's an A.
Yeah,
I think it's supposed to be an A. Could you have lived with yourself? Not me. I had to set things right. Blam! I need to be getting back. There's no telling what's going on there while I'm gone. I ain't gonna bury you again, you son of a bitch. And so this is at least issue number 16 or something. Yeah. So we end on like issue 6, and it's 10 issues later. So at least 10 months later in the storytelling, almost a year later, we finally get a resolution to the Shane storyline. And they did cover that to the show's credit. The show did cover that arc all the way, and he did dig up Shane and shoot him. And I think he lived a lot longer on the show because that actor John Barenthal was like, first of all, he was really good. He was really good. Yeah. He was like the intense guy on the show, and I think they realized they had something there. But also, I don't think he was famous though. What was Barenthal known for? Up to that,
he was kind of like a guy that was always
like a
second fiddle to somebody else,
just a character actor, and one of the intense guys, like a Ben Foster type guy. But I guess he was popular on the show. Like the water cooler talked about him a lot, so they kept him alive. But they did end up covering that arc in it. And
well, that's one of the things I do remember hearing from Robert Kirkman. It was an interview where I read it. Was that was one of his biggest regrets, is that he killed Shane so early in the comics, and when he realized he was doing the show, it gave him a chance to have like an alternate universe of the story. And it's like, well, what would happen if I kept Shane around? What could we, discover from that relationship? So, I mean, I think just a lot to be said on some of those decisions were probably good. Some of them probably not so good, but I do agree with, having the show be different from the comic. That way you can have, if you want to read the comic, read the comic. If you want to watch the show, and they're two separate beasts. But sometimes they would try to be too close to the show, or the show would try to be too close to the comics and then just fail at it. So,
well, let's get into that. I think this is a good place to stop with this episode, and then let's do another one where we kind of hit the some of the crazy things that the book did differently than the show. In my opinion, some of them are better, and then there are things that maybe they did equally the same. So let's do come back and watch another. Drop a comment and let us know if you're into watching another episode on The Walking Dead. So happy October, gang! Happy Monster Month, and let me pay the last set of bills here on the channel, and no, it's gonna fuck me. Filibuster for me a little bit there, Johnny.
Well, I was going to say that moment in The Walking Dead when he buried, dug him up and shot him and said, "I'm not burying you again." That was officially when I fell in love with The Walking Dead. That's when I realized I was actually reading something amazing here. That was, and granted, I was more of an artist, or was into the art more than I was into the writing. So for me, being into the writing of a comic book was pretty important to me, and to have that happen for like the first time that I was just really, really into the story, and I think that having that callback is some of the best writing I've ever seen, for sure.
All right, well, we're going to call it there, gang. If you've got any comics burning up your pocket that you want to send our way, go ahead and throw those in the mail to the P.O. Box listed in the link, the P.O. Box in the description. It's Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois, 60128. If you are a comics creator and you have your own book and you'd like us to take a look at it here at the channel, toss that in the mail, and I'll go look at the P.O. Box and pick that up. Kevin Strange, P.O. Box number 5, Cottage Hills, Illinois, 60128. And I hope I see you guys at the dollar bin. Remember to keep on digging.